Hey guys, welcome to the Flawless Skin tutorial for medium deep skin tones. This is our model Chanel. She's absolutely gorgeous. She has literally the cutest features and beautiful natural skin. And you know, this tutorial is all about skin, so I'm absolutely going to start with the skin prep. It's the most important thing, in my opinion, for any makeup look. And I'm just going to start with the Gleam by Melanie Mills. That's the Body Radiance in Deep Gold. So this particular product, I really love it because it has the perfect consistency. It's not overly runny, and it's also not too tacky. So it's kind of just sits in the right sort of consistency, allowing the skin to glow. It has a beautiful sheen, and this tone, Deep Gold, is the perfect match for Chanel. I'm using a flathead synthetic dual fiber brush to buff it in her skin, and I'm gonna actually apply it all over. I really want that glow from within, and once we layer those products, you know, what we're gonna see is a really gorgeous sort of skin texture. What we never want is absolute maximum beautiful coverage with the flakiness. We really want a hydrated, beautiful sort of skin finish, and that's what we're going to be sort of channeling throughout this tutorial. So I really want you guys to pay attention to each and every step, take your notes, and make sure you have this video on replay. So after applying the product, it's really important that each layer is seamlessly blended into the skin to ensure a very seamless finish. So I'm going to go ahead and use my favorite angled flat top brush from Real Techniques just to buff it in and ensure there are no lines of demarcation. Even with something just like the skin prep, this is an essential step, okay guys? And I am going to have a downloadable product list for you guys, so you can absolutely continue to build your kits or your personal kits, whether you're an artist or you're using this course as a way to understand how to do your own makeup. It's going to really be beneficial for you. And don't forget to get the neck, guys. You never want to have your face looking really different or even more hydrated than your body. So I always recommend bringing down that product, whether it be moisturizer or, you know, a primer. Bring it down to your neck as well, because you're going to continue to apply some product there. And for longevity, you guys know that Milk of Magnesia is one of my absolute favorite products. I put it in a spray bottle here because I find it a lot easier to work with. So I've just sprayed it on, and I'm going ahead and I'm just gonna buff it in. I know some people like to leave it sitting there. I find sometimes it picks up some texture once you actually start layering down some of the other products. So again, I really want that seamless finish, but I do want that longevity. So I'm gonna go ahead and buff it out. And now it's time for brows. I'm just going to take my spoolie and brush through those brows. It gives me a better indication of what her natural shape is like and where I can go with it. So I'm just going in here with one of my favorite brow pomades on the market. This is from NARS in Eau de Jouvre. And I love this product because it has a great consistency. Not overly runny, not overly tacky. Again, that is so important and key when you're working with products, because you want it to be able to be movable, but not too movable. So that's what I love about this product. I also really love that this product has a great tone. It's important to me because I really love a very natural brow. I love to go with a color that is slightly lighter than, you know, my hair color, or my subject's hair color. So it's important when selecting, you know, your brow product, whether that be a pencil or a pomade, you know, or gel or other, that you're paying close attention to the consistency and the color for which, you know, whatever it is that you're trying to achieve. Because I know that I'm trying to achieve a very sort of subtle brow, structured but subtle brow. This is the perfect shade and consistency that I need. I need it to have consistency whereby I can move it. Look at that. Ooh, look at that. I love that brow, okay? Whereby I can move the product, but also it's not going to just wipe off in 2.2. It's going to have longevity, and that's really important. And I can also move it the way that I need to and get those angles that's required, especially from the top end of that brow.
Wow, holy sugar sticks.
Well, that's a big difference.
That's a beautiful brow.
It's popping, right?
Whoa. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
I can't.
Whoa.
Chanel, stop it. Like,
Can anyone take Chanel serious?
I'm sorry.
That's the real question that I have.
It's just beautiful.
So now that we know that Chanel's really into her brow, we can go ahead and do the second one. Symmetry is obviously key, so we're going to use that as our landmark, the other brow that we finished, to get this one to match. Now, this is always a good time. Once you finish that first brow, it's a great check-in with your client or yourself to see whether or not you like that brow. Does that make sense? Is that a good shape for my face if I'm working on myself or my client? So that's really important. And also, because we're going to be going with a very natural brow, we're going to be really certain not to drag out that tail end too far. That's a gorgeous look sometimes, but when you're going for natural looks, people want to feel like that's indeed their own brow, not a brow that actually has been drawn on, one that has just been lightly filled. So even if I have to do a little bit more work on Chanel than I do on someone else who has bushier brows, to the naked eye, they shouldn't necessarily be able to tell. So that's the difference. You have to have a light hand, but know just where to fill. And if you notice with my strokes, I'm really paying attention to those areas that are more scarce. And that's why continuing to brush through the brow with a spoolie is really key, because you'll be able to tell sort of where the sparse areas are, which areas need to be filled. And of course, I'm going to always just be a little bit more light-handed on the very front end of the brow. I always like to take my strokes in the direction of the hair growth because that always makes it a lot more natural. And again, don't overdo it, but do pay attention. I can notice that the tail end is slightly longer, on the left-hand side for the first brow that we did. So I'm just going to try to replicate and go back and forth if need be to ensure that both of them are matching to the best of my ability, fairly close, still in a very natural way. We know that two brows never are 100% accurate, never 100% symmetry with these, but we want to bring them as close as possible in the most natural way as possible. And look at those brows. They're absolutely gorgeous. You can still see, the actual natural hairs. And that's really important because we're going to be doing another step later on. We're going to even accentuate these even more. You're going to see a more natural, accentuated, structured brow. Almost sounds contradictory, but trust me, you guys have all been raving about sort of my brow work, and I want to share with you the tips on how I achieve it. So if you want that beat brow, you know what I'm talking about, that beat brow, you definitely have to do this next step, which is carving out the brow with a concealer shade. Now, because I love a natural brow, y'all, of course I'm going to go in with, a very natural tone. This is really particular to how you like to do your work as an artist or do your own makeup on yourself. For me, today, here, what we're going to be doing is I'm really using a tone that is matching Chanel's skin tone, okay? I do not want these brows to look crazy. I want it to look natural, okay? It's flawless skin. So since that is the goal, I'm going in with a natural matching skin color concealer for Chanel at this point. And I'm just going to go ahead and carve out underneath that brow. So if you didn't get the exact shape that you wanted with your pomade, you're going to go further in and shape up with your concealer. I'm using yet another angled brush here. Some people like using larger flat heads like the number 242 from MAC. It's really up to you, and the more and more that you sort of work with different brushes and your product, you are going to get a good feeling for what you like to use. In this case, I'm using a cream product that has more of a thick consistency. I don't necessarily like using very runny concealers when I'm working on something that requires precision. So for that reason, I'm going in with a cream product that has a thicker consistency. But again, that's up to you and how you like to work. And guys, this happens from time to time. Sometimes you end up taking off a little bit of that beautiful brow that you already created. So what do you got to do? Maybe you got to go back in with a little bit of that brow pomade that you used at first. So you're always going back and forth and sort of adjusting your work. Guys, don't be afraid to do this. If you have that sort of lazy tendency not to go back and touch up some areas that are required or require touch-ups, it's going to be evident and noticeable at the end. Okay, guys? So although I want that natural brow, I still want that under the brow bone highlight. So I'm going to add a shade of concealer, 2 shades lighter than Chanel skin tone, only underneath the brow bone. Okay, guys? When you bring this throughout the entire brow, and trust me, I've done it before, You've probably seen some of my old work, where that brow wasn't as natural because I used to do that. But I just found, for the work and how I wanted to sort of develop my skills, this is, my new technique. This is what I love to do. And this is what my clients are raving for. I just want you to get into the habit of blending after each step. Okay, each layer that goes down needs to be properly blended. Now, there are ways to save time, especially if you're looking at minimizing the amount of time that it takes you to get through an appointment. We can cover that in another video. But for the purposes of this flawless skin tutorial, I really want you to focus on ensuring that the skin is flawless and each layer that is put down is properly blended. That's what I'm doing here. I'm just taking a clean eyeshadow brush and I'm going ahead and just blending out any lines of demarcation. Again, by the time I layer my eyeshadows or my primers, it's gonna look funny if I didn't take care of that base beforehand. Okay, guys? So blend, 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 blend. You're never done until you have finished blending, and even then you can probably blend some more. I'm telling you the truth. Okay, guys, I'm really in love with her brows. I'm in love with the color selection that we have here. And yeah, I'm just going to go ahead on to the next step. It's time for us to prime. Okay, guys? So I am taking some of the P. Louise makeup base and I'm just patting this all over the lid. Okay? Don't want to bring it too high because I don't want it to interfere with, the area that we carved out the brow. So I'm really just kind of keeping this to the lid and slightly above, and pressing it out, blending it out. It's so easy when you just sort of do a natural press blend without swiping it. A product like this, you don't want to swipe because you actually want the coverage. I'm using the color 0 because I want those eyeshadows or whatever I'm going to layer down to pop. So this is really important. I do love the consistency of the P. Louise makeup base. It's slightly runnier than I actually wanted. I prefer, again, something slightly more tacky, but it's really, really good for those that have drier eyelids. Okay, now we're gonna see how Chanel does. I have never done her makeup before, so this is the first time. I love to start with a product like this so I can see, is this product moving? Is it slipping and sliding? Is it creasing? Or is it setting just fine, sort of, without any powder? And that's going to give me a good indication of what I need to do next. So I'm just kind of blending out the product. So I'm kind of just paying attention, and because this is the first time that I'm working with Chanel, what I've noticed is that the P. Louise makeup base was actually creasing on her eyelids. So I'm going in with a second primer right now. This is a very thin layer of the MAC Cosmetics Paint Pot in Soft Ochre. This is just a tackier product, and I think it is necessary to ensure that we see no creasing. I know for a fact if I go in on top of the P. Louise makeup base that is already creasing, I'm probably going to see some further creasing in the afterwork, and I'd like to just alleviate that. So I wouldn't necessarily say that this is necessary for every client to do a two-step product, but sometimes you'll find out sort of which products work best. So now I'm going in with this really gorgeous sort of golden yellow tone matte eyeshadow shade, and I'm going to use that as our crease shade and transition shade. So I'm just using a really fluffy eyeshadow brush to blow that out. Not too much precision, making sure that I'm kind of holding the handle lower so I'm not applying too much pressure with the product. I want it to be more airy and just sort of diffused. Being sure to make sure that I bring that all the way through the inner and all the way out to the outer corner of the eye to ensure that there are no lines of demarcation. You're going to hear me say this continuously because we really want a seamless blend. We want this entire look to look effortless, including the eyes, the skin, everything unmatched. So that is the goal. And so with that, what we're going to do is layer a darker, more neutral brown tone shade. We're going to overlap this into the crease area, being sure not to cover up entirely the golden tone that we've used. So what we want to see is a really clean, sort of seamless overlap that ends up looking like sort of gradient. And that's kind of always the goal when we're building out our eyeshadow looks. So I'm just being sure to, again, use a bit of a light hand. We want a little bit more intensity in the outer corner, but nothing over the top. So by focusing this product in the outer corner of the eye and just sort of pounding that product right in there, what we're able to do is build out a true shape for Chanel's eyes. What we want to do is open it up, making the eye seemingly bigger than what is actually existing. And so we've kind of carved out a gorgeous sort of shape for the eye. So now I'm taking an even deeper shade that is a little warmer right on the edge there, and I'm making sure to diffuse it. What I want to do here is accentuate that particular area even more. So I'm not dragging that color too far into the inner eye. I really want this color to focus on the outer edge of the eye. And look at that. Ooh, that is an eye, honey. Just really clearly sort of defining her sockets and creating more dimension. And then for a really soft, natural look, I'm going to use a very fluffy brush and work in this shimmery golden shade on top. If I use a flatter brush, I could really intensify the color. What I want here is for the color to pop, but not far too much. I really want a very natural blend here. So I'm being sure to really work that brush into the edges. The top portion of that eye, I am bringing it a little bit higher than her natural lid. Why? Because again, I want to open up that eye. What we're doing is making sure that Chanel's eye looks a little bigger than it really is in normal life. Look at that. Gorgeous. And then make sure that those colors really sort of just naturally blend into each other by taking a clean brush and just blending it out. But take your time here, guys. Until you become a pro doing your own eyes or your clients, it may take you a while, and that is okay. Just take your time, but make sure that wherever those two colors meet, they have some overlap and a really natural blend. That is the key to a natural eye. Alright, so now it's time for liner. I love using my Delium Tools brushes. I really need a very thin sort of line just so that I can get it as clean as I like, and that's just like what I like working with. So I'm just going with a really clean edge here for Chanel, and again, we just want a really thin line. I want the emphasis to be not on the liner, but actually on sort of the golden tone and the outer edge that has that really sort of soft brown smoky look. So I'm keeping the liner really thin, but really clean. So I'm using the Inglot gel liner because I love how it sort of you're able to trace on top of it without getting those streaks. It's really, really black, and works really, really good for my black girls because you get the intensity that you need, and you also get the opacity that you need. So I'm in love with this product. You know, it's my go-to liner. I will do what I can to reactivate it as it starts to dry out. Like, I'm really a big fan. So I'm pulling out the edge ever so slightly. We're not going to actually do a winged liner here, but I'm just going to pull the edge and sort of just lift it up ever so slightly. Just pulling that out ever so slightly, as I said. And you guys know I'm a huge fan of the Inglot gel liners. This particular liner is so black, and that's something that I need, especially working with darker complexions, and I need a product that, you know, moves easily. Sometimes I wish it was ever so more movable, but sometimes I'll just mix in a little bit of the Inglot Duraline to sort of get that product to move a little bit more. As the product starts to dry out, you know, obviously it doesn't move as good, but I just love how it traces on top of itself and, you know, doesn't have those streaks. So like I said, with this sort of outer edge here, what I'm doing is just blending that liner out. We actually don't want to have a stark edge. And so I'm just kind of taking a flatter sort of eyeshadow shader brush to just blend that out by using patting motions, and that's kind of what we're getting. Now I'm just using a little bit of a dark brown shade. This is my favorite brown tone by NARS, called Coconut Grove, and I'm just sort of patting that on top, and then I'm just going to blow it out. So I want to pack it all in so that there's a lot of intensity. By the time I actually blow that out, it's going to have a really sort of soft but gorgeous, gorgeous edge to it. Yes, so take a look there, and then we're going to use a fluffy brush. I didn't really clean off the brush very much. There are some of the previous tones that are going to mix in, which is a-okay because those tones are already existing in the outer edge there. So now what that does is just intensify that outer corner even more, but I've really concentrated that product on just sort of the lower lash line of the outer corner, so that we're not covering up, you know, the previous work that we did, but we're getting that intensity just in the area that we need it. So be sure to pay really close attention to your placement. It's going to be really important. If you put that product in an area that it shouldn't be, it's going to be really difficult to sort of blend it out later. And overusing product is always harder. So I always opt for just less product, less is more, and add it as need be. These are our lashes in Dollish, so obviously, you know, you can go over to the shop tab and add these to your cart, but these are our most popular lashes because they're the safest, but they have just the right amount of flare to them. You can get a really good length, you know, sort of good volume, but it's not overdone. And these are the perfect lashes for a look like this because we want something that is effortless, flawless, that looks like, yes, honey, I woke up like this. So that is the reason for selecting these lashes. They're not doing too much. They're not covering up the eye work that we've done on Chanel, but they just add enough oomph. You know what I mean? I'm just waiting for her to open up, honey, so we can see what these look like. And so, you know, I'm just kind of making sure that the lash is in place as close as practically possible to the natural lash line. That way it looks like they're coming out of the root, honey. That is what I am saying. And I'm always paying close attention to the outer and inner corners. That is where you're going to see generally the most of the lifting, you know, later on. So I always want to sort of reinforce, yes, honey, that's what I'm talking about. Not too much, just enough. Once the lash is on, you can actually tell, you know, sort of whether or not the intensity of the existing eye look is enough to support the lash. In this case, I felt like, you know, even though the lash is really light, we could use a little bit more intensity in the outer corner of the eye. So I'm applying a little bit more of the Coconut Grove by NARS on the bottom sort of outer corner of the eye, applying it and then smudging it out. So what that's doing is we're just adding a little bit more intensity there. I feel like the lash can support it. And by the time we get on the rest of our entire face, it's going to just look effortless and seamless. You know, if you just went out like this, it would look a little off, crazy, because it doesn't have the balance. But here we go. It's time to get a really good match on the skin. Yes, I am feeling that. I love starting in on the jawline. You guys know me. So I'm going in with the Black Opal Cream Sticks. I've mixed two colors here, two tones to get a really nice, good match on Chanel. So I went with like a warm sort of deep tone. That's what we see in Chanel's skin. But, you know, she doesn't really have that dark tone. She has that sort of deep warmth to it. So I think that's the colors Black Walnut and Beautiful Bronze, or Bountiful Bronze, if I'm not mistaken. And once I get it to sort of the point where I have enough of any one of those tones, I go right in. So I'm using a flat top dual fiber brush here, and I just love focusing on the outer parameters of the face and the lower jawline, because, you know, that is where you're going to get that sort of good match on that tone of the face. And then we'll go in with our highlight colors in the center of the face. That's naturally just the way that the light hits your face, the way that your skin sort of looks already. So we're just going to play on that and perfect what is already there. Okay, perfect what is already there. That is my mandate for my makeup looks, for my clients and for myself. So Chanel actually has this beautiful glow already, because now we're layering this product on top of the Radiance that we put on originally as the skin prep. So here we are. We want to maintain this glow throughout the entire look. So even when we apply the powders, we don't want it to look overly powdery. So that is going to be, the other sort of important aspect of making sure to balance the texture as well as the tones as you're working throughout this makeup look. So with Black women, we always tend to have a little bit of hyperpigmentation around the mouth area. And throughout the day, as you're wearing your makeup, you tend to sort of have a bit of product lifting there and you see those little dark areas. So I'm just using a little bit of concealer with a bit of a color corrector here that really just matches Chanel's tone. But what it's going to do is really just conceal any of those darker areas around that area. We just need the seamlessness, and we need the flawless sort of skin. So we have to be sure that we get the coverage in all of the areas where we need it, and that might require using different tones in different areas to get that full sort of flawless effect. So don't be lazy. Don't skip the steps that are required to get the look that you want to create. So under Chanel's eye area, really minimal dark circles. So I'm just taking the residue of the product that's left on this brush from the concealer that we applied to the outer corners of her mouth under the eye area. That's just a good way of ensuring that it's really a blanket sheet. Once we go in with our highlight shade, we're not going to get that sort of gray look because we're going with the shade that's a little too light. We want to make sure we have a good sort of canvas base. So now it's time for the highlight. I'm taking a shade that is 2 to 3 shades lighter than Chanel's skin and making sure that it has that sort of golden tone to it, because that is what is consistent throughout Chanel's skin tone. You're going to see that in her chest area, so we need to get a good balance on her chest area that's much lighter than the outer parameters of her face. And that's why it's so important to work with a variety of tones, because that is what is already existing in the skin. We've talked about that undertone that's really golden. That's what we see in Chanel's skin. But then her overtone is really sort of like a medium deep tone that tends to probably look a little bit more neutral and or red brownish. But in actuality, her overall skin tone is still really warm. So we're using a number of tones to ensure that, these are existing tones that are already in Chanel's skin as well. We're just perfecting its placement. And so that's what's going to make this truly flawless. And rather than focusing your energy on having super amazing, immaculate symmetry when you're sort of laying down the product, really focus that energy on having that symmetry when you are blending out the product. Obviously, if you have application that is way off, blending out is going to make it, not the easiest thing. But you don't have to have the most perfect semicircle in the top end of the forehead when applying the highlight. I don't have to have super symmetrical under eye triangles. They just need to be sort of relative, and then once we sort of blend out, we're going to get exactly what we need from it. So now I'm going in with the contour shade. So when you're selecting your contour shade, you have to be careful not to go with anything that's too orange or too burnt. We want to select a tone that is really, if you were to see a picture of Chanel, a colored picture of Chanel, and you were to use that sort of color finder, when you found those areas that of shadow in the skin, they would amount to that tone. Okay, they wouldn't be overly orange, they wouldn't be reddish brown. In Chanel's skin, they would really be a neutral brown tone, and that's what we're using here. This is Black Walnut, Black Opal, one of my favorite contour shades. Now in my own skin, actually, my skin tone is really neutral, and I tend to be more or less around this skin tone of Black Walnut, but as a really nice neutral sort of contour shade for medium deep sort of black skin tones, it is the perfect contour shade. So I really move into using this particular product a lot. Now the sort of nose contour is an area that's completely overdone, and that cheek contour, I really just want a natural, flawless, I woke up like this honey look. That's it. Nothing too much. And my ombre sort of effect, that is what I'm using with all of my clients, and they're loving it. So that's why my skin work is looking amazing these days. Okay, making sure that I add that one tone in the middle. It's kind of an overlapping process. It is a tone that is warmer than your contour shade and darker than your highlight shades. You get a really good sort of warmth. It's kind of like cream bronzing in a way, but we're still going to bronze the skin after the fact. So I love to call this technique ombreing. And it just really is similar to overlapping those colors like we did with our eyeshadow, making sure that all three of those colors are still able to be seen, but you get a really good overlap on them. And so I'm just going to take one of my favorite brushes right now. This is the Real Techniques brush, and I'm just going to blend out the darker tones, because we don't want those highlighter tones to sort of mix with the darker tones. What we want sort of to mix is right at the edge. So focus on really blending out the darker tones first, and then you can go into the lighter tones, and then you'll get like a really seamless, like gorgeous sort of blend right on the edge. That is what you need, and that's a reason why the ombreing technique is so powerful, because you get a really strong blend and marry of the two colors between the highlight and the contour shade. Having that one shade in between really adds all the difference. And I know some people will argue that, well, you're gonna have a blush shade, and listen, try this technique and then you let me know how it's worked for you, okay? This is really the part of the makeup look that changes the game, because not only do you get the addition of the colors, which bring back in those dimension, it actually adds more coverage as well. So with that, you're gonna get flawless coverage, flawless tones. That's why this is the flawless skin tutorial. Like, literally, it is what it says it is. And I'm going in with that smaller brush right around the nose area for the most part, because it is a really tight area right between the eye socket and sort of that nose bridge is where you got to really focus on getting that seamless blend. It's really easy to sort of have unblended lines right between that area, and that's one of the things that it's really a pet peeve for me. So I'm always just kind of being careful about blending and taking the extra 5 minutes to do a really good blend rather than sending the clients home, because once they start to take pictures, they're going to see those unblended lines, and they're going to actually pick up on them even more once they use a flash camera. So make sure you have a really solid, good blend, and they won't have to worry about that. So now that Chanel is looking all kinds of sexy, and you can tell because she just caught a glimpse of herself in the mirror and she did one of those, yes, bitch, I have arrived. Okay, so I'm just kind of blending out underneath the eye area, making sure that there's not too much product sitting right in that socket. It's really easy to have excessive creasing if you've got too much product. So just by kind of patting and blending out, I'm just removing some of that excess product. And that's really all you've got to do. Make sure that you work with all of your creams before you go into your powders. That way you don't get like some really funny textures and clumping going on. So that's kind of just like my thing. And now I'm going to go in with this liquid highlighter by Lancome. These are the highlighting drops in Golden Glow. This has a really nice sort of golden sort of champagne color, so it's really still nice and gorgeous, not too dark or too light for my black girls. And the thing about it is I really love layering products, because what you get is longevity, more opacity, and it just looks that much more gorgeous. So I'm layering this liquid highlight. I'm still going to layer in a powder highlight. You already know what time it is. And on top of that, underneath the skin, what we have is an overall face highlight where we added that glow. So there's multiple steps, but there are reason and method to my madness. It's not just layering products for no good reason, but we want to make sure that once we sort of lose longevity of one product, there is still something underneath and something as a barrier to sort of hold that all together. So that's what time it is, guys. The product is gorgeous. I love the drops. I love the applicator. And it looks really, really good. So now this is like almost one of my favorite parts. I'm going in with the Laura Mercier translucent powder. Now you've heard everybody on social media ranting and raving about this product, so you really don't need too much input from me, but I think that I'm using it in a different way than what some people are using it for. So I've heard a lot of controversy in the Black sort of beauty community about how this product is sort of causing flashback, or they need to go with the darker shade. Listen, the darker shade, what I would use that for is for all over the skin. What I like using the translucent powder for is to lock in that highlight. Oftentimes what we find is that the skin sometimes eats some of that highlight shade, and you don't sort of get the intensity of the highlight that you wanted. So I like to use it as sort of a baking mechanism for the highlighted areas in the skin, but I'm really not going in too heavy of a bake either. It's really sort of just a little bit more product than necessary and a quick whisking away. And then I'm probably going to tone it after. Okay, so I'm using my favorite bronzer right now by Anastasia in Mahogany. Let me tell you about this product. Some people have been using it wrong. I have one of my friends, she's like really fair skinned. She's using it. She's like, I don't understand, this product is so pigmented. I'm like, girl, that's not for you. I love using this product on girls around Chanel skin tone and even a little bit darker. You just get enough warmth. Like, I think some people are confused with what bronzing is supposed to do. They're really looking for a shade that is like 4 or 5 times darker or more red or more brown than your skin, and that's not what's needed. What's needed is, let's bring back in some of the natural warmth, honey. Let's just make this thing flawless. So that's what Mahogany is doing for Chanel right now. I'm adding a little bit to the temples of the forehead, of course, and that's just going to intensify and add to sort of our contour shade. So it's a little bit warmer, of course, because our contour was definitely more neutral in that aspect. So you just gotta sort of balance the tones, work your way. That's why you start off with a little bit of product and then work your way up. That is the reason for that. Okay, so I'm sort of patting that Laura Mercier translucent powder into the skin. That way we don't lose the coverage. And I know that makeup is there to stay. It's not even gonna budge. This is literally, when I'm doing bridal work as well, what I do, because you need a strong hole, especially in that under cheek area. I am telling you. But you got to make sure that you brush away any of the excess, because if you leave any of the excess powder there, that's where you're going to get the flashback. You have far too much product sitting in that area, in an area that's already more hollow and is likely to pick up on a natural flashback without no product sitting there. So you got to be careful. Now I'm toning this area just a little bit. I am using the MSF by MAC. I think this is in the color dark, if I'm not mistaken. This is kind of like a matching tone to Chanel's face, and what that's going to do is just tone down a little bit of that highlight just a bit. If you're finding it's like a little bit too bright, or you just want to get that good blend on it, because I love to add this into my sort of ombre effect. I love doing a little bit of toning on that highlight area right underneath the eye area, especially if they have deeper set eyes, because that product is literally going to fall into what looks like a bit of a hole. Yes, the toning is what is needed. Okay. So now it's a time for a little bit of blush, because we need to add just a little bit of color right about now. I feel like intensifying her contour in the slightest bit. So I'm adding just a little bit of powder contour right in the hollow area right there. But it's such a soft blend on it that you'd not even know that I'd really done it. You know what I mean? And that is what contouring is supposed to be. Honestly, that contour palette should last you forever and a day, because the amount that you should be using is like so minimal. Okay, time for some blush, because we need to add a little bit of color to these cutie baby cheeks that Chanel has. So it's Burnt Pepper by MAC Cosmetics. Love this shade. My Black girls already know this is a staple and a go-to in my kit. Like, I know so many Black girls that are like, I don't wear blush, and I'm like, actually you need to. So here you go. Okay, this is Modern Mercury by Estee Lauder. I've ranted about this product enough. You've probably heard enough about it, and then it's probably like limited edition anyways. You probably can't even get your hands on it, but I remember I bought so many of them before when I had the chance, because I was like, I'm in love with this product. So just adding a little bit of highlight to the areas where naturally the light hits. I'm okay, even though this look is going to be natural, the one unnatural thing is always my highlight. I always go a little above and beyond with the highlight. So if you are one of my clients, you either love this or you tell me in advance that you want toned down highlighter. That's cool. But I'm a lover of highlights. So that's what's good. This tone is like really champagne. Like it's a really gorgeous champagne. So I love it because it's actually a little bit more natural than a full-on gold for my black girls. So I'm really sort of getting comfortable with using different types of highlighters, and that's why beauty is just ever changing. Like there's so much that you can do. Like this one face can have like a million combinations to get to the end look. Okay, so I'm going back into this eye and readjusting. I felt like it just needed a little bit more balance in on the other eye, and I needed to just tightline that waterline and just sort of get some black eyeliner right under there and get it smudged out. That's what we needed for this look, and that's what time it is. When I'm working on my clients, I like to be gentle and just pull down on the eye to ensure that I don't poke my client in the eye. That's really, really important, and you're going to find a lot of people, they're already fidgety in this area, so you have to minimize and do whatever you can to sort of minimize the flickering of the eyes and just make them feel more at ease. Taking a little bit of that Coconut Growth by NARS again and just sort of smoking out that lower lash line to get that full-on soft smoky eye. Come on now, like she is looking amazing. I can't even handle this look right now. Chanel was about to try to eat some gum, but I'm like, oh, girlfriend, I don't need you smacking your lips on camera, which you guys have probably seen me do a couple times, so I shouldn't be talking, but she was really cute about it. Okay, and I'm just adding a little bit of that mahogany to the nose sort of contour area, but really, really soft, because again, I do not like to see stripes down the nose. I just want to see warmth and have no idea where it's coming from. Just like, oh my gosh, so effortless. I don't understand how it got there. You know what I mean? So then what I do is I take that big flat top brush and I just really just pat it to make sure that there are absolutely no lines, and all you will see is warmth. So the placement of that nose contour is obviously going to be really, really important. Then as part of my final touch-ups, I kind of just wanted to add a little bit of a golden highlight on top of the Modern Mercury. So that's Beaming Blush by MAC. And this whole look was really just calling for a pop of color. So now that everything is just looking seamless, honey, it is time to add this lip. This is like a really orange tone red from Makeup Revolution, and it really it reminds me sort of a less brownier tone of Chili by MAC. I'm in love with that color as well, but I'm really loving just sort of how bright this tone is. It's really like everything, and even though it has a really matte finish, you know, we're not gonna keep it matte because I love me a glossy lip, honey, so be prepared for that. But yeah, I'm just using this lip brush to outline the shape of Chanel's lips, being sure to draw inward and not kind of outward. The only time I really overdraw is like the top part of the lip, but for the bottom lip I really want to draw within the lines. That I just find that that's always cleaner. And so I'm going in now with lip liner. This is Auburn by MAC. So this is a nice sort of, really, it really is an Auburn tone. It is what they said. It has sort of a brownie tone to it, so I'm going to get a really good blend on these two shades, which is exactly what I'm going for. Look at that. Ooh. And I'm just taking a clean brush and sort of blending those two colors together, so you're seeing that bit of an ombre effect. And one of the common mistakes that I see a lot with lips is really overuse of product. So applying way too much lip product that now it's becoming difficult to blend out. So again, less is more. Start with like a really small amount and then add more where and if need be. You'll be surprised that between your lipstick and lip liner combination, you really need such a small amount of both products. Okay, so keeping in line with the bronzy skin, we need sort of glossy, bronzy lips. So I'm adding Oh Baby by MAC Cosmetics. Literally my favorite lip gloss for my black girls. This is one of those lip glosses that gets topped on top of everything. Okay? Let it be new, let it be color girl. It's getting topped on top of everything. So that's what time it is. I'm adding a little bit of Auburn and just making sure that I get a good balance on all of the products that I laid down here. And then I'm just going on top with a little bit of lip gloss from NARS. This is Albatross. It has a really sort of beautiful diamond finish as well. So look at Chanel. She is done. This is what we call flawless skin, honey. I woke up like this. This is like red carpet makeup, any gala sort of makeup. It's classic wedding makeup. You know what I mean? Like flawless, and obviously like my real lashes are not this length and my skin is not this perfect, but if I were like Beyonce or something, like I woke up like this, you know what I'm saying? And that is the whole point of this look. Just make sure that your lashes have a good blend with your natural lashes by using a black tone mascara on your natural lashes, and then just make sure that you sort of clamp down those two lashes so you get a really good blend and it looks like one lash. We never want to look like we're wearing two sets of lashes. And that's really what time it is, guys. Like, this is the completed look. So remember I said there would be one more step for the brow. This is it. Everyone has been asking me on my socials, like, how do I get my brows like this? And honestly, after, you know, the beginning of the tutorial that you saw with the brow, you just add on this brow gel. This is from MAC Cosmetics. This is the color in Bengal, and this is my go-to thing. This is my jam. You can use Girl Boy if you have more of like a warmer sort of reddish hair tone, but I love this tone for my black girls, and this is really it. This is how I do it, and this is how it looks. So thank you guys so much for staying with me for the last hour and for enrolling in this flawless skin course. If you are interested in seeing more courses like this with different skin tones, please do drop us a line at info@dollfacedready.com. We are always looking for fresh faces and models to come and sort of participate in these. We like using real people because real people have real skin challenges, and we really want to kind of show what it is like in everyday life to sort of overcome some of those challenges. And instead of using models that are always have perfect skin, it's really difficult to get true life perspective on makeup when you're always applying it to people who have flawless, immaculate skin to start with. So Chanel has beautiful skin, beautiful, immaculate skin as well, but she's a normal person. She drinks her water, thank God, but she has her few blemishes here and there as well. And so do drop us a line if you're interested in modeling for us, and we hope that you're enjoying these courses. And if you really are enjoying these courses, or you feel like there is some suggestion that you want to leave, again, get in touch with us at info@dollfacedready.com. We look forward to hearing from you, and we can't wait to deliver more courses just like these. See you soon. And Don't forget to book your appointments with us, guys. We are going to be traveling, and we want to make sure that we get all of your appointments in for the holiday season. So look at your December calendars and start to book your appointments with us to ensure that we have your space. And don't forget, we are now offering a variety of online makeup courses just like these, as well as lashes. You can shop our Dollface Dreddy branded lashes at dollfacedreddy.com/shop. Okay.